Nomination for Vice Presidential Election. This educational material should not be referred as guideline of Election Commission of India. In case of any variance, the Election Commission guidelines, rules, laws shall prevail. Learning outcomes. At the end of the session, the participants will be able to classify the notification issued by the Election Commission of India, know about the public notice issued by the returning officer, understand the basic requirements related to nomination, explain the security deposit, discuss the steps to be taken by the returning officer at the time of receiving of nomination paper. Nomination. Nomination is the process of formally offering oneself as a candidate for any elective office. A person must be qualified and must not be disqualified under the Constitution and law for such candidature. Nomination starts from the day on which notification calling the election is issued and lasts till the last date prescribed for making nominations, both dates inclusive. However, no nomination can be filed on any intervening public holiday and second and fourth Saturday during such period. Press note of the Commission. Not to be confused with the press note issued by the Election Commission of India. Press note usually is issued a week in advance and contains the date on which the notification is to be issued and also lays down the entire schedule of the election, generally not held to be a statutory document. Therefore, the date of notification, as mentioned in the press notification, becomes the immutable starting point for election process, that is, nominations. Notification and public notice. Filing of nomination starts on the date of notification by the Election Commission under the Section 4 of the Presidential and Vice Presidential Election Act 1952. Publication of notification, Section 4 of 1952 Act. The Commission shall publish the notification in the Official Gazette, which shall mention the last date and time of nomination, date of scrutiny, last date and time of withdrawal of candidature, and date of poll if necessary. Public notice. Returning officer to issue public notice of election under the Rule 3 of the Presidential and Vice Presidential Elections Rules 1974 in Form 1 as referred in Section 5 of 1952 Act. Public notice shall be published before 11 a.m. Section 5 of 1952 Act. On the issue of notification under the Section 4.1, the returning officer shall give public notice of the intended election, inviting nominations of candidates for such election, and specifying the place at which the nomination papers are to be delivered. The format of Form 1, that is public notice, is shown on the screen. In the public notice, returning officer has also to specify ARO who will also receive nomination papers in addition to him or her, place at which the nomination paper shall be received. Normally, returning officer should not specify more than one ARO for the purpose. Public notice has to be under the signature of the returning officer only. No other authority can issue this public notice. The public notice shall have to whom can nomination papers be submitted, name of assistant returning officer, last date and time for submission of nomination, place of submission of nomination papers, place, date and time of scrutiny. The date and time period of the poll, if necessary, shall be mentioned. ARO's role in nomination. As per the subsection 2 of Section 3 of 1952 Act, Assistant Returning Officer shall be competent to perform all or any of the functions of the returning officer. Nomination form. Form number 3 is the nomination paper for election to the office of Vice President of India. Basic requirements. Nomination can be filed only by the candidate or any of the proposers or seconders from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. between stipulated date and time. Cannot be sent by post or mail or filed through any other person. Nomination to be signed by the candidate and the minimum 20 electors as proposers and minimum 20 electors as seconders. Cannot be filed on public holiday and second and fourth Saturday. Public holiday is defined in the Act of 1952, Section 2F. Any holiday declared under the Section 25 of the Negotiable Instrument Act 1881 is a public holiday. Basic requirements. An elector can propose or second only one candidate in a vice presidential election. If they sign nomination papers for multiple candidates, only their signature on the first nomination paper delivered to the returning official shall be deemed operative. Maximum of 4 nomination papers by one candidate in the same constituency. No limit on the number of persons permitted to accompany the candidate at the time of presenting of nomination paper to the returning officer. However, the RO may allow as many persons, including electronic and print media, as can be managed in his chamber, where he sits to receive nomination paper. Security deposit and number of sets. The security deposit for vice presidential election is Rs 15,000. No deposit acceptable by check or bank draft. To be made either in cash before the RO/ARO at the time of delivery of nomination paper or in advance in the RBI or in a government treasury. A maximum of 4 sets of nomination papers for a candidate can be submitted. Only one security deposit is required. If more than 4 nomination papers are filed, the 5th set onwards will be ignored, but make sure this doesn't happen. Actions to be taken by returning officer at the time of submission of nomination paper. Enter date and time of filing nomination and put initials. Give running serial number to nomination papers. If more than one set of nomination is filed by one candidate, give serial number in the order in which they are presented. Take decision, if any, under subsection 4 of the section 5B of the 1952 Act. Fill up receipt part of the nomination form and hand over to the candidate or proposer or seconder as acknowledgement. Also give a notice of scrutiny. The Form 3, that is nomination paper, is shown on the screen. In this educational video, we have learned about the nomination for the vice presidential election. If you have any doubt or want any clarification, then you can contact through the mail as shown on the screen. For other videos on rules and regulations, you can visit the web address as shown. Thank you.